joining us now is Peter Wallison. He was a top Treasury official in the Reagan administration. He is now at the American Enterprise Institute. He is also a member of the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission, which is looking into what caused the financial crisis. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get to this issue of reform, what do you make about the news of AIG today? Did the government just get lucky? Did we, the taxpayers, just get lucky that the market stabilized somewhat?
Well, I think we got lucky that we'll be paid back, but I don't think that we should look at the AIG situation as a win for the taxpayers, because what it did was create the idea that very large financial institutions, if they get into trouble, will be rescued by the government.
So there is this moral hazard problem.
A much more moral hazard, risk-taking that we can't control, and ultimately risks and losses for the taxpayers.
Now, when you talk about risks and losses for the taxpayers, we know that the government, the Fed specifically, has a ton of work ahead of it, specifically as far as the Consumer Protection Agency goes. How do you see this playing out over the next, just say, year and a half as we continue to see stabilization?
This is going to be a very big problem, I think, for not only the government and the Consumer Financial Protection Agency, Bureau, rather, but this is also going to be a problem for the way our government operates. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is a very unusual organization. Not only does it cover the largest banks in this country, but it actually covers the corner store that cashes checks in every little town, every little city in the United States. It has an enormous range, and it is run by a single person, not appointed yet, as we know, who is not accountable either to the president or to Congress in any way, nor to the Federal Reserve, where the Bureau is lodged. So we have here a very unusual organization, something that we have never created before. And I think Congress is probably going to want to take another look at the way this agency was established, quite
Peter,
apart
what is the likelihood
from
of
what
that?
It does. I think the likelihood is fairly substantial. It depends on what happens in this election. But if the Republicans do well in this election, there will be an opportunity for the Republicans to revisit some of the things that were done in the Dodd-Frank Act, this most recent reform. And the things that they will revisit, I think, are some of the excesses. And this Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, whether you agree with what they do or not, is a very unusual structure for our government, with no accountability for a single person.
Okay, no accountability. That's your main argument. What about the GSEs? Do you see that theme extending there as well?
Yeah, well, I think, of course, if the Republicans are better represented in the next Congress, maybe even in control of the House, possibly even the Senate, yeah, I think there's a good possibility that we will revisit the whole idea of government agencies involved in financing housing that are backed by the government. I think, again, it creates the kind of moral hazard that will cause enormous losses in Fannie and Freddie for the taxpayers. Some people are estimating more than $400 billion for the taxpayers. These are things that I think the Republican Congress, if they have this opportunity, will have to address.
Peter, we thank you so much for the time.